Hello everyone and welcome to PE Academy. So in this video, I'm going to be covering the concept of change of subject of formula. So it's a very common scenario you come across if you are solving any question on that math or science related question. So one thing I want you to know is that if the subject is very confusing or whatsoever on that subject formula, at the end of this video you'll be able to solve just any question, to find the subject formula of just any equation or any formula or anything that you have been given. So make sure you watch this video to the end. I have a lot of examples here that I'm going to be using to explain the concept of change of subject of formula, starting from the most simple one to the most complex one. We are going to be doing it together. All right, so let's get started. And so if you are to change the subject of if you are to solve question that change of subject of formula, so there are some things you just have to note. Generally, there is no a one-step approach that this is how you do it or this is what you do first and this is what you do last, because it depends on the question. But once you understand the concept, you'll be good to go. So what do you do? One thing you have to do is when you are asked to change the subject of formula, what you try to do is whatever you want to use as the subject of formula should be on one side, preferable at the left, and then the other terms should be moved to the right. So you apply any mathematical principle that you can think of to just to make sure that what you want to make the subject of the formula is to your left and then the other terms are being moved to your right. So in doing that, some common things that you might have to do, you might have to divide, you might have to multiply, just like I said, it just depends on the question itself. There is no one-step approach to solve all the questions. So without wasting much time, let's start with one example. All right, so to start with, so for the examples I'm going to be using in this video, we are going to be making x the subject of the formula. So let me just write it here. So make x the subject formula. In the below example. So it's not only x, it could be any alphabet, just to make sure that let's just stick with one term throughout this question. Throughout the examples we are going to be looking at in this video. So let's one. So if you are given a question like this, that x plus y equals to z, x plus y, and you have to make x the subject of the formula. So this is a very simple one. What do you do? So you are going to look at it like this, that x, what you do is, since we are trying to make x the subject of the formula and there is a y that is on the same side with ax, so what we do is to move y to the other side of the equals to sign. So you're going to have x is equals to z, and if you are to move this y, you can see it is a plus y to the other side of the equals to sign. It becomes what? Minus y. And we've answered the question already. So if you are to make this x the subject of the formula in this particular one, you're going to be having x is equals to z minus y. So this is a very simple one and I hope you got that. Alright, so let's look at another one. That's number 2. So if you have a question like dx plus y is equals to x, dx plus y equals to x, and we are to make x the subject of the formula. So what we do is we try to bring x to one side and every other term we bring it to the other side. So what we'll do here is now, so let's have our dx. Now we have y here. Let's bring y to this side, to the right, and then we bring our x to the left. So that means we're going to be having dx. If this x should come to the other side, it becomes minus x. Then equals to, now we have plus y here. If it come to the other side of the equals to sign, it becomes what? Minus y. I hope you are following. So now let's continue. If you look at it here, we have x here and x here. So x is common here, and after the minus sign we have x. So we bring out x, and then we open bracket and have d minus, so x and this x, that will be 1, then equals to minus y. So what I've just done here is, if I should open this bracket, I'll still be having dx minus x, because x multiplied by d is dx, x multiplied by minus 1 will give us minus x. Is that clear? So what we do here is we divide both sides. So let me just write it. So divide both sides by d minus 1. So that means we are going to be having x into bracket d minus 1 divided by d minus 1 equals to minus y over d minus 1. So this can cancel this. So we'll be left with x equals to minus y over d minus 1. And this is what we'll get if we make x the subject of the formula in this particular equation. Alright, so let's go to number 3. Alright, example 3 is like this. If you have something like y equals to m plus x over m minus x. So don't forget here we are also going to make x the subject of formula. Alright, so to start with, so if you look at the question, what we can do here is to cross multiply. So if you should cross multiply, so you can also rewrite, before I cross multiply, just to make sure you are not confused. So what I want to do is, what we're having here is same thing as y over 1 equals to mx, equals to m. Sorry, let me write this again. Is what we are having there is the same thing as y over 1 divided by m plus x over m minus x. I hope that is clear. So what we do is we cross multiply. So if you cross multiply, we are going to be having y into brackets m minus x equals to what? So m plus x multiplied by 1, it will still give us m plus x. Are we good? So now let's open the brackets on the left side. So we are going to be having ym minus yx equals to m plus x. Alright, so let's continue here. So what we have there is ym minus yx equals to m plus x. So now what we do here is, don't forget we are making x the subject formula. So everything that has to do with x, we move it to the left, and then every other thing will be moved to the right. So now we are going to be having minus yx. Then we have x here. If you should bring it to the other side of the equals to sign, this is plus x, it becomes minus x, and then equals to m. This m will remain. Now this ym, there is plus ym, even though there is no plus here. But since it is starting it and there's no plus or minus, so that means there's a plus here. If you should come to the other side of the equals to sign, it becomes minus ym. Are we following? So now here we have x is common here. So what we'll do is we are going to be bringing out the x, and then we open a bracket. What we are going to have is minus y, exactly, and minus 1. So if you use x to multiply what we have in the brackets, we are going to be having minus yx and minus x. So here we then continue equals to m minus ym. So what we do is we divide both sides by what? Minus y minus 1. Exactly. So we are going to be having x into brackets minus y minus 1 over minus 1 y minus 1 equals to m minus ym divided by minus y minus y. So this will cancel this. So now we are going to be having x equals to m minus ym divided by minus y and minus 1. Now you can, and I will not want to leave this at my final answer because I'm having minus y and then minus 1 at the denominator. So what I can just do is to multiply both the up and down by minus divided by minus. So let me just say minus 1 and divided by minus 1. So to just change the sign, so that means we're going to be having our x equals to minus m plus ym over y plus 1. So it is more appropriate like this. So this will be our final answer. So once we make x the subject of the formula, this is what we're going to get for question number 3. So now let's look at number 4. If you are finding value in this video, please give it a thumbs up. And as I'm solving it, if you want to test your understanding so far, so immediately I write any question, you can just pause the video attempt it on your own and see what you are going to get, and later you can see if you arrive at the same answer, and if not, you can go through your question again and see where you missed it. Alright, so this is another question. B is equals to 1/2 square root of y square minus x square. So this x here is what will make the subject formula. So to start with, what we'll do here too is to cross multiply. So when we do that, we are going to be having 2b is equals to what? Square root of y square minus x square. So what we have to do now is to get rid of the square, because the x is still there. It's affecting, the square root is affecting the x, which won't make the subject formula. So what we do is we square both sides. So if you should do that, we are going to be having 2b all square equals to, so square root of y square minus x square all square. So the square will cancel out the square roots. Exactly. So here we are going to be having 4b square, that's 2b square will give us 4b square, is equals to what? Y square minus x square. Exactly. So what we do is, let's bring this minus x square to the left and take this 4b square to the right. So if this should come to the other side, it becomes, alright, so if this minus x square should come to the other side, it becomes x square equals to y square, and this, if this should come here, it becomes minus 4b square. So now, for us to cancel out this square, we find the square root of both sides. So find the square roots of both sides. Exactly. So what we are going to be having is square root of x square equals to square root of y square minus 4b square. So the square root will cancel the square. So that means we are going to be having x equals to square root of y square minus 4b square. And this here is what we'll get if you should make x the subject of the formula. I hope we got that. So it's a very simple process. The more questions you solve, the more familiar you will be on that questions and find the subject formula in any formula that you are given or any question whatsoever. Alright, so let's see, we still have some space that we can use here. Alright, so we stop at 4. Let's look at another 5. So like I said, the best way to understand the concept is to solve as many questions as possible. Alright, so this is, if you have x over y plus x over z equals to 1, and you are asked to make x the subject formula. So what do we do? So first, let's look for the LCM here. So the LCM here is going to be yz. So then we do the normal mathematics. So yz divided by y will be give us z multiplied by x. So we are going to be having xz. Then yz divided by z will have y multiplied by x, that will be plus xy equals to 1. So what we do here is we cross multiply. Exactly. So once we cross multiply, that will give us xz plus xy equals to yz. So since x is common here, we bring x outside. So what we are going to be having in bracket is z plus y equals to yz. So what we do is, so if you have been following, based on the other example, you divide both sides by what? By what? Z plus y. So what we are going to be having now is x into bracket z plus y divided by z plus y equals to yz. So without this, you can cancel this. So that means, and then z plus y. So that means our x will be what? Yz divided by z plus y. this will be the final answer. So exactly, so if you are to make x the subject of the formula in this particular question, this is what you are going to get. X is equals to yz over z plus y. So I hope you are finding this interesting, and you have been able to have gain more understanding under the concept of subject formula. Alright, so let's look at another example. So if you have m into bracket b minus x equals to cx, again we have to make x the subject formula. So let's get started. So like I said, you can always pause the video first, attempt the question, note your answer, and then you just use the watch the video to just check the solution. So that will also help you in understanding it better. So for this now, let's use m to multiply what we have in the brackets. So we are going to be having mb minus mx equals to cx. Exactly. So now we are having x here and we are having x here. So let's bring the x together. So we are having minus mx. So if this cx should come to the other side, it becomes minus cx equals to, now this mb will come to the other side. It becomes minus mb. Exactly. So at this stage, we can multiply everything by minus 1 so that we can cancel out the negative sign. Exactly. So if we should do that, we are going to be having mx plus cx equals to mb. So it will not affect our final answer. So now we have x is common here. So if you bring out the x, it will become m plus c equals to mb. Very good. So now let's divide both sides by what? So divide both sides by m plus c. So that means we are going to be having x into brackets m plus c divided by m plus c is equals to mb over m plus c. So this will cancel this, and then we'll be left with x is equals to mb over m plus c, and this is our final answer. So this is what we'll get if we make x the subject of the formula in this particular equation or call it expression. So depending on how you arrange it, you might get maybe bm over c plus m. You are still correct, you get. So since you are multiplying alphabet, whichever one you put first, you are still correct. Exactly. So now let's look at example 7. So we still have a lot of examples we are going to be looking at. So do make sure you watch the video to the end so that you can have full understanding on about the concept of change of subject formula. Alright, so let's look at number 7. So this is a very simple one, and I want to believe so. So you might want to pause the video and attempt it and let me know what your answer is. So if after watching it, let me know if you arrive at the same answer. So here we are having square root of x over 2 equals to b. Square root of x over 2 equals to b, and we have to make x the subject formula. So what we do is square both sides so that we can get rid of the square roots because it's affecting our x, and because this is the x is what we need. So if you should square both sides, so you're going to be having square root of x over 2 all square equals to b square. So the square will cancel out the square roots. So what we are going to be having is x over 2 equals to b square. So by the time we cross multiply, so that means our x equals to what? 2 times b square. So that means x is equals to 2b square, and this is the answer. So it's a very simple one. So let me know if you're able to get the answer before looking at the solution. So let's look at another one, number 8. Alright, so here we have square root of x squared plus y squared equals to 3y. So the same thing we are going to do, we are going to square both sides. So if you should square both sides, we are going to be having to cancel out the square root here. So we are going to be having x squared plus y squared equals to 3y all square. So let me just write it here, square both sides. So I might just be skipping some steps because I want to believe by now you should be familiar with some of these steps. Alright, so let's continue. So here we are going to be having x squared plus y squared equals to, so if you should, the square of 3y squared will give us 9y squared. So since we are trying to make x the subject formula, you take this y squared to the other side. So it becomes x squared equals to 9y squared minus y squared. So for x to stand alone, we'll find the square roots of both sides. So in doing that, we are going to be having square root of x squared equals to square root of 9y squared minus y squared. Alright, so the square root will cancel the square. So that means our x will be equals to square root of 9y squared minus y squared. And this is our answer. Okay, so this is the answer. Alright, so let's look at another one. So let me just, so that's example 9 or question 9. So if you are finding value, please give it a thumbs up. So m over m minus x equals to p over p plus x. So this is another question. So let's look at it together. So what we are going to do here is to just cross multiply. So if you cross multiply, so you're going to be having m into brackets p plus x equals to p into brackets m minus x. Alright, so here we are going to be having mp plus x is equals to mp, okay, this is mp plus, let me call it xm is equals to mp minus xp. Exactly. So if you look at the question closely, you see that mp is here and we have mp here. They can cancel out, because if you should bring it to the other side, it becomes mp minus mp, so they can cancel out. So we are going to be having xm is equals to minus xp. Exactly. So let's just bring it, this minus xp to this side because of x. So we are going to be having xm, so it becomes plus xp equals to 0. So x is common. We are going to be having x into brackets m plus p equals to 0. So now we are going to divide both sides by m plus p. So now I'm going to be having x in brackets m plus p divided by m plus p equals to 0 divided by m plus p. So this will cancel this. With that, our x will be equals to 0, because 0 divided by m plus p will give us 0. 0 divided by anything is a 0. So our x for this particular question is 0. Exactly. So this is looking a little different because we are not having all our terms back. Exactly. We are not having our terms back. And even if you put in 0 here, you are just going to see that it will just give us 1 equals to 1. Alright. So this is more looking like a mathematical kind of question and not really a subject formula question. Okay. So let's go to question 10. We are gradually rounding up, so I believe you've gained a lot in this video. But do make sure you watch it to the end, because I still have, and to make sure you don't miss the last 3 questions, it's important I say that. Alright. So we are going to be having x squared minus y squared plus z squared over p squared equals to 1. So we are going to make this x here the subject formula. So let's do that. So first we have to look for the LCM, which will be yp and y square and p square. So if you should solve this mathematically, y square p square divided by y square will give us p square. Use it to multiply x square. So we are going to be having x square p square plus, so y square p square divided by p square, we are going to be having y square. So y square multiplied by z square will give us z square y square, then equals to 1. So at this stage, what we'll do here is we cross multiply, and then that will give us x square p square plus z square y square equals to y square p square. Alright, so what we do is, since we have y square on this side, this is the only place we are having x. So let's move every other thing to the right. So we are going to be having x square p square equals to y square p square, that's this, and then this z square y square, we'll take it to the other side. It becomes minus z square y square. Are we following? So now what we'll do is we find the square root. Or before we even look for the square root, let's divide both sides by p square. So we should divide both sides by p square. So we are going to be having x square p square divided by p square equals to y square p square minus z square y square. So this will cancel this. Don't forget over p square. So we are having x square equals to y square p square minus z square y square over p square. So at this stage now, we find the square root. So let me just write square root of both sides. So that will be square root of x square equals to square root of, okay, now the square root of y square p square minus z square y square over p square. Exactly. So the square root here will cancel the square. Exactly. So let me just write it here. So we are having square root of x square equals to, so that will be square root of y square p square minus z square y square over p square. So this square root is for everything here. So this has cancelled it. So we are having our x equals to this. So since this square root belongs to the numerator and denominator, so the square root of p square is p. We can go ahead and write it as square root of y square p square minus z square y square all over p. Exactly. So the square root at this stage, it has cancelled out the square at the denominator. So that's why when I'm writing the final answer, I'm putting the square root more at the numerator. It's not concerning the denominator again, because the square root at this point has cancelled out the square. So we are having only p. So this is the answer, and this is what you get if you make x the subject of the formula in this particular equation or question. Alright, so let's look at 11. So I still have another one, question number 11. So like I said, now this last three questions, I don't want you to miss it for anything. This time around, we are not making x the subject formula. We are using a different term. Alright, so let's look at the question. So if you have watched this video this far, I must congratulate you, because this last three questions, if you can solve them, then I can really say that you are good to go when it comes to subject formula. So to help yourself, once I write the question, pause the video, attempt it, and then just look at the video again as a way of confirming your answer. And it's also important to mention that the step you follow might be different from what I'll be following, but once you arrive at the same answer and you follow the right mathematical process or step, then you are good, you are also correct. Alright, so here's the question for this. We are having V is equals to pi h square into brackets r minus h over 3. And in this one, we have to make r the subject formula. Exactly. So this is the question. You can go ahead and pause the video, attempt it, and let me know what your answer is. Alright, so let's get started. So what we are going to be doing first is we are going to be having something like this. Or before we start, let's divide both sides by pi h squared. So that means we are going to be having v over pi h squared equals to pi h squared into brackets r minus h over 3, all divided by pi h squared. So this will cancel this. Exactly. So that means we are having v divided by pi h squared equals to r minus h over 3. So this is what we are having now. So what we are going to do is, let's just solve this itself. So we are going to be having v over pi h squared equals to, so this we can put it as over 1. So we can have the LCM to be 3. Exactly. So 3 divided by 1, 3 multiplied by r. So we are going to be having 3r, then minus 3 divided by 3 is 1, minus h. Exactly. Alright, so let's cross multiply at this stage. So if we should cross multiply, we are going to be having 3r minus h multiplied by pi h squared equals to 3v. Okay, so now let's continue. So at this point, let's divide both sides by so that this 3 can stand alone, by pi h squared. So we are having 3r minus h, that will give us 3v over pi h squared. I've just skipped the right in it that divide both sides by pi h squared. Exactly. So now let's move this h to the other side. We are going to be having 3r equals to 3v over pi h squared now plus h. Okay, so let's just continue. So to make things much more easier for us, let's just simplify what we're having on the right side. So we are going to be having 3r equals to, so we look for the LCM. So this is like over 1. So we're having pi h squared. So pi h squared divided by pi h squared is 1. So that will multiply by 3v, that will give us 3v. Sorry, 3v. Then pi h squared divided by 1 will give us pi h squared multiplied by h. So that will be plus pi h raised to power 3. Exactly. So now let's divide both sides by 3. So we are going to be having 3r divided by 3 is equals to 3v plus pi h cubed over pi h squared divided by 3. Let me put it like this. So this will cancel this. So that means our r will give us 3v plus pi h cubed divided by pi h squared. Then this divided by 3 is the same thing as times 1 over 3. Are we good? So that means we will be having our r equals to 3v plus pi h cubed divided by 3 pi h squared. And this will be our answer. So if you get this answer, let me know in the comment section, irrespective of the step that you use. Because before this video, I've solved this question earlier, and now that I'm doing a video, I'm even using a different step if I'm to compare it with the step I use while preparing for this video. So like I said at the beginning, that's the beauty of mathematics. There are a lot of steps in getting a particular question solved. Alright, so let's look at number 12. We still have 2 more to go. So for question 12, alright, so for question 12, this is what we are having. T is equals to mu square over k minus 5mg. So here we are to make k. So let me just write it. So make k the subject formula. So T is equals to mu square over k minus 5mg. Alright, so let's solve. So in this we are going to be having T equals to, so let's simplify what we are having at the right. So this 5mg we can take it to be over 1, exactly, so that we can find the LCM. So the LCM here is k. So k divided by k here is 1, multiplied by mu square, we are going to be having mu square. Then k divided by 1 is k, multiplied by minus 5mg, so that will give us minus 5mg k. So now let's cross multiply. So if we should cross multiply, we are going to be having tk is equals to mu square minus 5mg k. So since we are trying to make k the subject formula, let's move everything that has k to the left and the other ones to the right. So we are going to be having tk, so this minus 5mgk, we bring it to the left, it becomes plus 5mgk equals to mu square. Exactly. So since k is common and that's what we want to make the subject formula, we bring the k outside and put every other thing in the bracket. So this will be t, that's factorization, plus 5mg. Because by the time we use t to multiply everything inside this bracket, we are still going to get what we are having here. So equals to mu square. Alright, so now we divide both sides. We divide both sides by t plus 5mg. Alright, so we are going to be having k into bracket t plus 5mg over t plus 5mg equals to mu square over t plus 5mg. Are we good? So this will cancel this. So now we are left with k equals to mu square over t plus 5mg. And here is what we get if you make t the subject of if you make k the subject formula in this particular equation. I hope you got that. So if you were able to solve the question before looking at the solution and you're able to get this answer as k equals to mu square over t plus 5mg, please let me know in the comment section below. So if you are finding value, please give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you share, you like, and you subscribe. So this is the last example we are going to be looking at under subject formula. I want to believe you've learned a lot in the course of this video. So we have h is equals to m into bracket v square minus u square over 2gx. Alright, so this is more looking like a physics formula. So in this particular question, we want to make v the subject formula. So this v, we want to make the subject formula. So this is looking like a physics kind of equation. Alright, so let's start. So the first thing I want to do is to cross multiply. Since there's an equals to sign, it makes it easy to cross multiply. So if we should cross multiply, we are going to be having h 2gx equals to m into bracket v square minus u square. So there's no need to open this bracket. Exactly, there's no need to open the bracket. Okay, so there's no need, but I want to rewrite this as, I want this to come first. M is because we are having v already on this side, so I want it to come first. So m into bracket v square minus u square is equals to h 2gx. So it's still the same thing that we are having. I just change it around. I turn it around. So now at this stage, let's divide both sides by m. So divide both sides by m, and by the time we do that, we are going to be having m. We are going to be having m into bracket v square minus u square divided by m equals to h2gx divided by m. So this m here will cancel this m here, and then we'll be having v square minus u square equals to 2gx, h2gx over m. Are we good? Alright, don't forget we are making v the subject formula. So now we move this minus u square to this other side of the equation. So that means we are going to be having v square minus, okay, so that means we are going to be having v square equals to h2gx over m plus u square. Exactly. Alright. So what we can do here is we can first of all simplify this before looking for the square root. Exactly. Or if you go ahead and look for the square root, and then you'll be having the square of everything here. But let me first of all simplify what we are having here. So that means we are going to be having v square equals to, so this is like over 1. If I should look for the LCM here is m. So m divided by m is 1, multiplied by this, that will be h2gx plus u square m. Exactly. So now we can find the square root of both sides. So that means we are going to be having square root of v square equals to square root of h2gx plus u square m over m. So the square root here will cancel the square, and then our v will give us square root of h2gx plus u square m over m, and this will be the final answer. So when you take it this far, you get this as your final answer. But if you choose to stop here and then you find the square root at this point, you are going to be having your v will be square root of h2gx over m plus u square. Exactly. So but this is where I took it forward and I stopped here. So that is it for this video under subject formula. I hope you've been able to gain a lot under the subject change of subject formula. If you do, please give this video a thumbs up. Let me have your comment in the comment section below, and also subscribe to this channel. You can also visit our website. The name of our website is paacademy.ca. You'll be seeing it on your screen, paacademy.co. So do check it out, and then I'll see you all in another video. Thank you.